It is week number 11 of Let's Chat with Kat and Pat. It's Patrick Gilroy alongside Katrina Patiri here with you guys once again. And it's going to be another one of these, I think, low-key weeks. Again, we like doing the heavy stuff. The heavy stuff is what I feel like some people tune in for. But we got to mix it up and make sure that we're not just, making people depressed. The idea is not to send people back to the therapist. It's to listen to people like us and feel like, okay, maybe I don't need the therapist as frequently because I'm not alone.
Save the money on the copay.
Exactly, I'm not alone in this situation. You don't have to feel like you're the only one out there or that you're ashamed of whatever's going on with your ex-wife or your ex-husband or your stepkids, because we're all in the same boat, and that's why we come here each and every week to have this conversation. And I say each and every week because here we are again. We try to record this thing. We tell the people. We try to record it on Mondays. We both work all day. Then I rush Connor to Civil Air Patrol to rush home. And that gives us an hour and a half window where we can hang out and put this thing in the can, so to speak.
And the house is quiet.
The house is quiet. And then I got to rush back out and go get him. But that's become our routine, our schedule. And it's the second time in 4 weeks that we are off schedule and we're recording on a Sunday evening.
But this time it's your fault. Last time I had a work trip.
Well, you had a work trip, but there was a time where it was my fault too, because we had a Monday board meeting. Don't you remember that?
Yeah, well, I'm going to end up messing us up again in May too, so we can just keep passing the guilt here one way or the other.
It's fine, but like
it'll even out.
This again, I volunteered, and it's ironic because I volunteered to be on the board of the local football team, right? And I asked for your permission, and for a multitude of reasons, you gave me your blessing. But even when you volunteer, it doesn't mean that you get the job. Then you have to be elected in. So they make you feel like it's this prestigious thing because, yes, I raised my hand, but that doesn't mean that I'm in.
I mean, let's get back. I mean, they were looking for volunteers first time around. Then they were looking for volunteers second time around.
There were 2 seats available and 9 people applied.
And then the third time around, they're still looking for it. And the first 2 times they said no. Like, we don't have the time. It's a lot, blah, 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 blah. We've loved the organization for Connor. And then it's like, well, then the guilt fills it in. Like, well, no one's volunteering.
But 9 people stepped up.
Well, we didn't know that till you had the interview.
Right. So 9 people stepped up and 2 people got the job.
Again, we're doing the best thing.
We're doing the right thing. And I try not to, we're recording on a Sunday, and I try not to get the Sunday scaries. Like, I don't like the way they make me feel.
But the volunteer thing is supposed to be like once a month or once every 6 weeks. It's like every other week.
It's
and
every
the
2
drama
weeks.
is like a soap opera.
It's unreal.
I don't know how we're not Real Housewives of Windham, New Hampshire.
I think we're going to get there eventually. If Hollywood just were to send a couple of producers here, I think that they would find something. I really do. New Hampshire's got a bit of a reputation for being like a hick town, all living in the woods, not wearing deodorant, or if they're wearing deodorant, they're wearing Lumi. Yep, they're getting their crack and their folds and everything else with their Lumi. But, having a piece of straw hanging out of your mouth, riding the Caterpillar tractor down the street to the local 5 and dime, that's what people think in Hollywood, I think, when they think New Hampshire. That's not where we live in New Hampshire. The competition for the women here is something else. The amount of lip injections and plastic surgery and tit implants and enhancements. It's like, and if one woman gets something done, like 9 others come behind her and say, okay, my turn now. And it's almost like an excuse. And you see the evolution of these people over the years, because a lot of them you see for a particular sport season or a particular time in the school year. So you don't see them again from season's end until the next year.
And then you're like, whoa.
What happened here?
But my favorite was, I was like, no. I'm a Yeti girl. I'm a Yeti girl for my Yeti cups. I loved my Yeti. And I was so pressured into buying a matching football Stanley Cup. Now, I love the Stanley Cup.
Yeah,
I had a really hard time.
Your birthday's in a month, and on your birthday list is a 30-ounce Stanley.
I want the Celtics green, and I want the small one for when I travel. Now I've become addicted, but, I caved to the peer pressure on a $45 Stanley, bought my first Stanley years after the craze of everybody else having one, and I do love it. But, that's a real life here.
But the question then becomes, if you caved to the pressure of, putting your Yeti aside for a Stanley, Are you going to succumb to the pressure of getting lip injections
I'm
or
too cheap for that.
Botox,
Well, all I have to do is eat onions, have my allergic reaction. I
breast
got
enhancement?
my boobs are big enough. Okay, if I eat onions, I have the allergic reaction, and I got the lips.
They look
That's
so good.
free.
Yep.
And I have been using face moisturizer since I was 20. Like, there's no way I'm sticking stuff in me. Like, I have a hard time taking ibuprofen. I'm not doing Botox injections.
Last night you let me stick something in you.
Oh, would you stop
I
it?
mean, don't say that. You put yourself out there, and I'm gonna take the opportunity every single
Isn't that
time.
organic though?
It is
Not a
organic. It's all
medication.
natural. It is organic, and it is Let's Chat with Kat and Pat. Week number 11. You turned so red, but
Nobody can see me.
I needed a transition because again, we've got this thing going here where every other week we don't have kids here on the weekend for the most part. Sometimes life happens and
Mhm.
we get interrupted.
Well, this is our only weekend this month with no children.
It is for a multitude of reasons.
The next 4 weekends, we have a child.
Yeah.
And then our weekend off, I come home from a work trip, you leave for a work trip, and it's Mother's Day weekend.
I know. There's a lot going on there.
Mhm.
And if people listen to the show in 3 or 4 weeks, it may be a very different version of Let's Chat with Kat and Pat after we
Mhm.
haven't had a weekend in nearly a month. But until then, we're all in a good place. But
Mhm.
we've talked a lot over the first 10 episodes about how we make it work money-wise and how we're able to stay connected without spending a fortune and going on vacation on a really tight budget and still living our best lives and having great vacations. But those are the big things. And a lot of times I feel like people are good at the big things because a lot of time and effort and energy gets put into the big things. But it's not the big things that carry the day for a relationship.
We'll carry the week, carry the month.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got to have the ability to do smaller things and, go on cheap dates or, find something to do together where you're not breaking the bank. I mean, the first 4 or 5 times we went out, I know that I had great Celtics tickets and, we
Mhm.
went to a luxury
Yeah.
box, but like I
I
couldn't,
mean, you impressed the first month, and then like reality hits. Like, you're divorced, I'm divorced, we got kids.
I
Like,
couldn't keep that
we
up.
can't be doing elaborate dates. So,
Right.
like, what are date options or cost-effective date options to do?
But I feel like you are in the minority.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be romanced, you want attention being given to you, but you don't demand Capital Grill or Morton's
No, I'm
as long as you're getting
like,
like
can we put music on in the kitchen and make dinner?
well that's it. So like if I took you to Morton's or the Capital Grill and we had a $400 meal, $200 on food and a $200 bottle of wine, but we don't have a decent conversation, no matter
It
how
doesn't
good the
matter.
meal was,
It's awkward.
right, it doesn't matter. So that part of it, I think, it's a blessing in disguise because we're very lucky that we're compatible and we've got enough going on in our lives where there's always something to talk about. And even with the podcast now, there are times when we go to the gym, and when I go to the gym by myself on my lunch break, I walk for 10 minutes to loosen my legs up, and then I run for an hour, and I get my 6 miles in. But when you're there, I try to walk for 20 minutes because
Oh, well, and then we pitch different ideas of what we're going to do
that's
for
what
the
it is.
podcast.
We
Yeah.
talk about the
And then we
podcast.
get our schedule in check too, because that's usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're able to be at the gym together. But again, that's a free date.
It is. It's something that we enjoy doing. We enjoy doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives us a 20-minute window, 2, 3 days in a row to recap the week, talk about what's upcoming. If you had a look at our calendar right now, it's enough to give me an anxiety attack over what's upcoming between now and the end of May. It's crazy.
Well,
And the one thing we haven't made time for in there, by the way, and this is not going to turn into a Celtics podcast, but the one thing we haven't made time for is the fact that there's 5 games left in the Celtics season.
yeah,
They are the front runner and favorite to go to the NBA Finals, if not win a championship. So by the time we're at
better
the end
knock
of
on
May,
wood.
by the time we get to the end of May, we're talking about the time where the NBA Finals start.
Yeah.
And one thing we've done very well over the last few years is because of the time that your birthday falls. It always falls towards the end of the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes.
And every year, whether it's against the Sixers or the Bucks, there's been a
An
game
epic
6,
game.
game 7 excitement. Your season's on the line, and the Celtics have come through every single time.
Well, in the last 2 years, we were in Boston and able to like live it with other fans,
It was awesome.
like jumping and hugging and screaming and like so excited that the games won in the finals. So I mean, I'm down to go to the Seaport or something. Change it up this year.
Well, if
We did
again,
Assembly Row last year. We did Faneuil Hall the year before. Let's do Seaport
well,
this year.
it's all about whether our schedules can accommodate that and what's going on with Connor. And
Hmm.
we're trying to get a trip to Nashville in for your birthday. So there's
Well, work trip to piggyback on. Yeah.
right, but and that's another one of these sort of inexpensive ways that we're able to travel together, right?
Hmm.
So if I'm going to go to Nashville and I've got the opportunity to pick my day, I'm going to pick a Thursday because we love going together,
Yeah.
and then we make it into a long weekend, and it
Right. You go to
drastically
your
cuts down.
meetings. I work from home Fridays anyways, so I can work from any hotel with Wi-Fi or just bring my hotspot and we're good to go.
Right, and the company pays for my airfare both ways, pays for the first night in a hotel, we pay for the second night,
Hmm.
and chances are we get your tickets on points and we call it a day.
Yeah.
It's fine, and we split meals anyways.
And it's free live music.
Well, and it's great live music too. It's not just free live music; it is great
Every
live
place
music.
you go, every block, every 15 steps you take is another amazing musical talent.
So we're trying to do that for your birthday and maximize the experience while minimizing the expense.
Yeah.
I mean, that should be a chapter in your book someday. Maximize the experience while minimizing the expense. But that's, just one of the things. So, like, what are the other acceptable, cheap date night things? Because, again, people in our situation, if they're in their second or third time around and they've got kids and they've got the stepkids and they've got, between the two of us, we've done the math a bunch of times, it's close to $60,000 goes out the door annually before anything to support the exes and to support the kids. So we've got to maximize the inexpensive date experiences.
Hmm.
Like what else is there?
Well, so we do the gym, and we can do that during the week for lunch or before brunch on the weekends. So that works really well. And then I love that we connect or kind of go over on the week while we do that at the gym. So if something comes across that's like frustrating or aggravating, we can just run it off.
Right.
And we don't have to get in an argument over it because we're already like, it's a great outlet for, we're going to have to write $1,200 for X, Y, and Z out of nowhere. I just got alerted. Okay, so we're catching up on that, but now I get to run it off. I get to think about it for 40 minutes and how we're going to figure out that $1,200. So that has actually been genius for us.
It has. Yeah.
To be able to have that. Unfortunately, the weather hasn't worked too well, but we do enjoy going hiking.
Yeah.
And that's free. We got a lot of local options nearby. We can also bring the dog sometimes to do that. Now that the nicer weather is coming, hopefully, we've only been able to do it a couple times, but like the after work catch up where we walk the dog without any children.
It's nice.
That's delightful when we get to do that. But we've really set up our backyard too. Like we're working on it now to be able to do, what is it, a bonfire? But
Yeah.
we have the solo stove.
We
can cook out on the grill,
we've
so
got a
it's
fire
easy to
pit.
do dinner.
We've got so many fire options. We've got the old school
Mhm.
fire pit where I put like the lawn refuge in there, and the trees that keep falling, and I
Yeah.
cut them up. So I've got the regular
The
fire
pine
pit.
cones.
Then we've got the pine cones. We've got the solo stove, so the
Mhm.
more modern fire pit, and then we've got the propane fire pit.
Oh, that's right. That we got free on Marketplace.
Yes, so,
yes,
like,
we got 3 fire
we have
options.
3 fire options, and we've got the pool, the hot tub, and all the stuff back there. But last year,
And when we say pool and hot tub, okay, it is the inflatable Coleman hot tub that we found on clearance in Walmart for $96. But it's great for stargazing and listening to some music and just kind of relaxing in the backyard.
wait, it gets to 104 degrees, and the jets are somewhat powerful.
We
It
all-
is shockingly good.
Right, and our pool is an above ground pool that we
With
found
a small
on
leak.
Facebook Marketplace
Then I broke it.
that you broke. Yep, but we figured it out. But even that, when it gets to be summer and it's really nice out, we have wine in the pool.
So we got a $20,000 pool for $500.
Yeah.
All right, so this lady put it on Facebook Marketplace because she tried to install it with her husband and her kids and did it incorrectly. So it was up for 48 hours, and the water let go because two of the leg anchor things collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
So it had a lifetime warranty. So she was able to call the company and they sent her like a dozen new legs and new parts for it. But by the time she got those parts, because this was during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
it took like a year. So she had to spend the money and bought another new pool and hired somebody to come in and correctly set it up and level the ground and everything else. So she let that thing go for $500. It was a deal of a lifetime.
Yeah.
So we get it here. I do all the leveling, I do all the hard work, but I don't know what I'm doing. So we hire a day laborer to come in here and help me
Mm-hmm.
for a day.
Also found on Facebook.
So we put the thing up. It's erected. It looks great. The water guy comes, get 10,000 gallons in there, and within an hour of the water guy leaving, I am mowing the lawn, and I catch a rock, and the rock right into the side of the pool, and I heard it happen. I didn't see it happen. I heard it happen, and then I look over, and all I can see is the 10,000 gallons that we just spent $600 on
Yeah.
flooding out of the
No,
pool.
mind you, all I can hear is like a ding, like somebody's just like shot a BB gun or a gun. Like it's just this loud noise, and you screaming bloody murder for me.
Yep. I rip my shirt off.
Yeah.
And I like
Plug the
ball
hole.
it up to plug the
And
hole.
this could be a sitcom.
And we're
Like I
trying
mean, this is like George Costanza, like buying his first house in Long Island, and this is what he does.
Like, what do we do to save the pool?
Right.
Like at this point, how do I save the water? It was flooding out. What do we do? And over the course of the summer, and multiple different options
Patches.
to fix it,
Mm-hmm.
it's as good as it's going to get.
We figured it out.
I promise you, it is not 100% watertight. There's a small leak that's always going to be there, but
It's a slow leak.
But the pool looks great.
Yeah.
It's a fun pool. It's good for us. It's the right size for us, and we ghetto heat it. So living in New Hampshire, you get a very short window of time when it comes to pool season. We try our best to extend it with a camping shower situation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't this like we do that whole like propane trick?
Yeah,
to,
so
yeah.
you put a sub pump in the pool,
Mhm.
and it's got a hose hooked up to it. It sucks the water out of the pool. You run it through a $100 camping shower water heater thing that you get on Amazon, and it gets the water up to 160 degrees, and then it goes back into the pool. So it's just water out, goes through this thing, water in. The biggest expense is the constant filling of the propane tanks.
But we got a propane guy.
We got a propane guy now, so I think we're good to go.
So we're good.
So there are times, like by the end of June, the water in the pool is going to be in the mid to high 80s, and nobody else around here can do that unless they install a $10,000 like water heater. But we're not going to do that for this type of pool.
Well, we're just not those people.
No.
Like, so recap. So we can go hiking. We do day dates when the weather is nice and it's not raining to be able to like recap our day walking the dog. We can hang out in our backyards, several different bonfire options. We can do our ghetto fabulous hot tub that we bought on clearance at Walmart. We can do the pool. We can also we can make our own pizza. We've got the grill. We've got the Blackstone, all of which we got at discount knockdown prices.
And when you say make our own pizza, she's talking about our awesome Ninja outdoor pizza oven. Not like, in the kitchen. Because in the kitchen pizza is fine, but there's something about doing it outside and having the
and
brick
making
oven type
right,
of...
you got the music going, you got a couple glasses of wine. It feels like we're making an evening of it.
Well, the other thing that we do that doesn't cost us any money, and I love you so much for this, is what are we going to do when the podcast is over tonight?
We're going to watch the Celtics game.
We're going to spend 2.5 hours together on the couch, probably have dinner on the couch, watching the Celtics game.
Mhm.
And whether it's a preseason game in October or an end of the regular season game like we have here tonight in April, where there's 5 games left in the schedule, who the hell knows who's going to play tonight? Win or lose, it doesn't matter. It's still something that we enjoy doing together.
And that we look forward to.
Right. It's a part of our schedule. It's a part of our lives. And it's an opportunity for us just to spend time together. And, I love watching the game with you and seeing how you light up when, Luke Cornett or Peyton Pritchard does something awesome.
I know,
Because
like how proud was I of him the other day, like talking about the end of the game because he was the high scorer.
yeah, it was like,
Yeah,
but he got to do the post game interview,
yeah,
and you're looking almost like a proud parent,
yeah.
like
I was
watching
like,
him.
I called it. I knew he was going to be fantastic, and everybody looked at me like I was crazy last year, and he's proved it.
He's been
And
great.
I'm so happy for
He's been
him.
great, and they made the right call by
Mm-hmm.
keeping him because remember last year he said, "I like being a Celtic. I love being a Celtic, but I don't want to be here. I want to go somewhere where I have an opportunity to play 30, 40 minutes a night
Yeah.
and show how good I am." And somehow, some way this year, they've improved the skill in their backcourt by bringing in Drew Holiday, the evolution and the emergence of Derek White.
Mm-hmm.
Their backcourt is miles ahead of where it has been, but they've still found plenty of time and room
Still knocking on
for
wood.
Peyton Pritchard
I
to
know.
have a role on this team. And that's because he's interchangeable. And this is why I think you love him. He's the size of a point guard. He's 6'1". But if you watch, a lot of times when he's out there, he's playing shooting guard. They even slide him into small forward sometimes. They just want him on the floor because when he's on the floor, he makes good things happen.
Well, he finds a way to be where the ball is or get the ball, and he plays to his strengths with it.
He makes winning plays.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're gonna do tonight. And I don't know what you've got up your sleeve for dinner, but chances are it's gonna be delicious, and we'll have dinner and watch the game together.
Bone-in pork chops.
Bone-in pork chop. It's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
great. But we have to do that today because tomorrow's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Like the reality is every Monday is tough. And tomorrow's even tougher because of the inclusion of this meeting. So I gotta work all day, fly home from work, pick up Connor, like I'll be home for 5 minutes, enough time to drop my bags and pee.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up Connor, get him to North Andover, to fly back to Wyndham, to go to the high school and be at a meeting from 7 to 8:30. So it's supposed to be 7 to 9, but
You have the hard out.
I got to
Yeah.
leave at 8:30 with a hard out and go pick Connor up at 9 in North Andover to come back to Wyndham. So by the time I get to catch my breath, you won't be around. You'll be downstairs and in bed.
I mean, dinner will be made and left for you, but yeah, I'm going to be getting ready for the next day. But I have to go drive to Western Mass tomorrow. Like I've got a 12-hour day, um, and I have even a longer day on Wednesday.
Right.
Like it's
It's
just going to
hard,
be a long week.
which is why having the inexpensive date night options
Right.
are a big deal.
So then Thursday night, getting back to that, is going to be our only opportunity to go out without a child for the foreseeable future. So Thursday night is half off beer and pizza at our favorite pizza place.
On
So
grand finales.
yeah. So if we go and do that, we can easily get like a cheese pizza, probably share a salad, get a couple beers, and be good for like 60, $70 on the high end after tip.
Yeah, I mean, and that sounds fabulous. It sounds like a
Mm-hmm.
nice night, and it's one that we're going to need
Mm-hmm.
because, again, it's once Connor comes back for the weekend, we're going to have him every weekend for the remainder of the month.
Right.
And, it is what it is. We love him, and we say it all the time. If he would just live here, life would be a hell of a lot easier.
Well, because we could just plan everything so much better. Everything wouldn't have to be done in such short intervals that we could spread it out through the week where it didn't feel as overwhelming. By the time we end Monday, Tuesday, we are then catching up like crazy Wednesday for work. That come Thursday, we're exhausted. And then if it's our weekend, then we got to do that on top of just normal house stuff. And again, it just goes back to like a million activities. Whereas if we just had them all the time, we could fit everything in and have it be a better balance that we wouldn't feel so exhausted.
Yeah, and we've made the best out of our situation, despite the fact that he wants to be here full time. We need his mother's approval, and I don't think that's ever going to happen. So until that does happen, it's our job to make the best out of every situation.
Right. So getting back to free date options. So coming soon as the nicer weather comes, and let's hope and pray it doesn't rain, we have a local town beach that we can go to, that we can go and kayak with our Ghetto Fabulous kayak.
And we have to blow it up and clean it.
Yeah. Then we also have, getting together with other friends is always nice. If you go to their house, they come to your house. It feels like you're being social but not spending money going out. The other option is we have Tuscan Village, which is just like an outdoor Disney Springs-ish type of thing here in New Hampshire. But every weekend they have free live music, and we pull up with our football chairs and
Yeah, last year
we
every
plop right
weekend it
down.
rained on us.
I know, but the previous 2 years that was
It was awesome.
fantastic.
It was especially coming out of COVID. People are still wearing masks, but it was
Yeah,
good to be around people again and
but
have the opportunity to do something social and be
well,
outside.
it feels like you're getting out, but we would like do a simple dinner here at home. We'd get in the car at 7 o'clock where the live music had already started. We get there by 7:30. We'd plop the chairs down and wouldn't have to spend any more money.
No,
And it felt like we were going out.
and the reality is there's been a couple of acts there that we've really fallen in love with.
Yeah.
So whether it's Best Not Broken, and by the way, thank you to Best Not Broken for the free tickets to
Yeah.
their show, because again,
You follow people on social media, you're a good fan, you get rewarded.
free date night options.
Yeah.
Like so they were usually when we have the opportunity to see them play, and if you don't know who they are, find them on Facebook, find them on Twitter, find them on Apple Music. They're awesome. Like if you
Mhm.
like if you're 40-ish and you like 90s pop, like that's what
That's who they are.
that's who they are.
That's their what is that? Their niche?
Yeah, it's their niche, but they're awesome when you see them live because they'll do a bunch of cover songs that everybody knows. But then they've got their own music too, which is equally as good.
Yeah.
So we really like fell for them. They're great. So they play at Tuscan Village for free all summer long. Then they play at your favorite Irish bar
Peddler's
quite a
Daughter.
bit, Peddler's
Yep.
Daughter. But then they're
Which is also a cheap night because if we eat before we go, because they don't go on until 9:30, we get there before 9. We don't pay cover. We get a couple beers. It's $20 or less,
I
and
know.
we have a great night.
But the challenge with
It's staying up that late,
right. So when they go on at Tuscan, they go on at 7.
which is phenomenal.
That's good for
yeah.
us. When
This past weekend it was 8 o'clock, which was also great.
like when they go on at 9:30, and we've got these great ideas of like, hey, we're gonna
Mhm.
go. By the time like 8:30 rolls around, like, are we really gonna like get dressed and go do this right now? Because
Right.
we're both gassed at that point. So that's a tough one, but we've done that one a bunch. But then they play these larger venues, and they've been opening for more established musical bands, I guess. So like last October,
Mhm.
they opened for the Bacon Brothers, who aren't big musical stars, but they've been a touring band for a long time. And
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon's an A-list actor for what
Well,
that's
I mean,
worth.
but his brother is like he like teaches music school in New York.
Right,
Like,
and then they opened for the front headline singer of the band Boston this past weekend with his band behind him. But essentially, they were playing all Boston songs, so they opened for them. And those tickets cost money. Like they're like $60 a pop. You might as well be going to see a legitimate band somewhere that's established that you know about for that kind of money. So it was funny because they were playing. We like the venue, we
yeah.
like the band, and I came home and I'm like, honey, Best Not Broken's playing, and you're like, yeah, no, we're not spending the money on tickets.
Mhm.
And I was heartbroken because at that point I had already got the free tickets,
Yeah.
and I legitimately thought you didn't want to go. I'm like, what are you doing here? I said, so my question for you was, well, what if the money wasn't a concern? Would you want to go then? And you were like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So at that point, I was able to say, but you ruined like the surprise and the excitement for me.
Well, I had already saw that they were playing. I already looked at the price of the tickets, and I'm like, well, after fees and everything, it's like easy $150, and like we're going on vacation. We're not gonna spend $150 now.
Well, and as the opener, they only do a half an hour set
Right,
too.
like-
and we left halfway through the Boston set because
Well, because it was 10 o'clock, and then we still had to drive 45 minutes home. So like
like we liked their music, but
it's late. It's a late night.
we would have had to stay to like 11 to hear like More Than a Feeling, which is what
Mhm.
everybody was staying for. It's the most well-known Boston song that there is, right? More Than a Feeling. Like, everybody's waiting for that. And the thought of staying that late to hear that song was too much.
Well, after working all day too, because it was a Friday night. It wasn't like it was a Saturday, and we got to kind of be like a little lazy. Like we were on all day, also coming off of having no power.
True.
And we still got along.
We did.
We went like what? Like almost 40 hours with no electricity.
It was really hard. No, it's one thing if you don't have electricity and you can make the decision to go to a hotel
Yeah.
or to live like you're camping because you don't have electricity.
But we're not campers.
We're not, but
and we didn't want to spend the money on a hotel.
But I swear to God, it was worse for us because we've got a decent generator. Like we've got a really good generator. The generator that I got in 2013 when I bought this house, it's not one of the permanent ones that automatically clicks on. You've got to wheel it out of the garage and hook it into the house, and press the buttons on the fuse box. But it is powerful enough to run the entire house, less the dryer. That is what was sold to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's as powerful and as expensive as the portable ones get. The next step up is a permanent one.
Yeah. But we've used it so much this year.
Well, but we hadn't used it the last few years.
No,
So it's
but
10 years old. It probably was used 4 times in 10 years.
and we've probably used it 6 times the last 6 months.
And it's due. It desperately needs like a tune-up. So at the end of the season, we got a guy, and it always pays to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be free, but it'll be a hell of a lot cheaper than it would be to bring it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's another tip that you can give to people. Make friends with your neighbors. Make friends with your townspeople, because everybody's got a skill. And this guy, Jamie, is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to have to hire Jamie to take that thing in and just have it better prepared for next time.
Yes.
Because there's nothing worse than like getting that thing going after fighting with it, and it's running great for 3 or 4 hours. So the house is operating, internet's on, TV's on, you're able to work. I get to work. An hour after arriving to work, I know how uncomfortable and hesitant you must have been to send me that text where you're like, honey, the generator's turned off.
And I was doing my presentation on my Zoom meeting that I was 10 minutes into, and we've lost power. I have disappeared. I am now back on via hotspot, which is not holding video very well. I still need to speak my piece, not be on camera, and break all the rules. The only blessing in disguise, which I don't even know if it's a blessing, that was probably the wrong phrase, is not only did I have power outage issues, but some of my peers were actually in New Jersey, and then they had an earthquake
At the
during
same time.
the same call.
It's awesome. It's awesome. By the way, we're all fucked. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we had this massive April snow, ice, rain, wind event where if you drive through our pretty town here in Windham, the amount of trees down, telephone poles down.
The tree carnage is unbelievable.
It looks like a war zone. It looks like, we went to war with an opposing country over the last 72 hours here. It is.
And their weapons against us were trees.
Yeah,
it was so powerful that there's branches that were impaled in the ground that was frozen.
Right. It's like the frozen tundra, and the branches went straight in, meaning if you were under that tree and that branch that managed to impale the frozen ground had fallen on you, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like that thing is stabbing you. It's killing you. Matter of fact, didn't you say there was like a warning out there? Like,
yeah, so there was like a Facebook warning that said like, don't go out and shovel with how bad the wind is. Like, you have better chances of a tree falling on you than actually clearing your driveway. Wait for it to be done.
yeah, but all the people that we've seen with giant, like 300, 400, 500-year-old trees that just snapped in half like twigs. We had the lady down the street where the giant tree was like in her pool.
Her pool is done. Remember the RAV4 that got completely destroyed?
Yeah, the RAV4 that got crushed.
Yeah.
You got the house near the school down the street. 2 giant trees. When I tell you that they snapped like twigs, it's shocking a couple days later to drive by it and look at it, because the damage is just, your mind almost can't wrap itself around what's going on. And then there's the general kick in the balls, which is, we've talked about this in the podcast a few times. I like to keep our front of the house looking okay.
You can't keep up.
I cannot keep up. So every time I'm out there, I spend a Saturday, 6 hours with the leaf blower and the rake and the wheelbarrow, and I have my routine. I think all the pine cones are gone, right? There can't be any more left to live.
And they're haunting you.
And the last time, I thought that was it. Like, this can't happen again. And all winter long, it's continued to happen. When I tell you that following this storm, I couldn't see my grass, I couldn't see my driveway. It was 100% covered with pine cones. And giant branches. The amount of giant branches that I had to clear out of the front yard yesterday, it's enough to build a small house.
But the previous week, you filled to like 8 feet the stone fire thingy.
The fire pit, yeah.
Yeah. stone fire pit. It was 8 feet high of
Yeah.
just branches that you went around and you cut with your little branch thingy,
Yep.
so that way we could prevent another serious windstorm
Right. So,
taking us
so
out.
anything that was remotely dead or hanging, I have one of those extendosaws, and it was cold. I didn't want to be out there. But the week before, we had a storm, and all of this carnage happened in our front yard. So I was like, I don't want this to happen again. I'm just gonna go out there in the cold and try to do a little bit of preventive maintenance. It didn't matter. It's like all that work that I did not matter because apparently there were thousands
It's
more
like
branches
Groundhog Day for every storm.
every single storm. But we're in this weird place now where I don't want to get into political stuff or what you believe, what you don't believe about global warming, whether it's real, whether it's fake. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to understand it. But I do know this. Growing up here in New England, when we had winter storms, we had snow.
Hmm.
It was
It
very
was snow that you could shovel, you could snow blow.
you'd get a foot or two
Yeah,
and you'd get a couple of storms a month
yeah.
between November and April, and that was it. Okay, that was winter. That's what you expected. And occasionally, once in a while, you got a shitty warm storm where there was a lot of water mixed in, or the snow was heavy, or it snowed and then it rained. And those were always a bitch. And those were the ones where I had to help my dad shovel so he wouldn't have a heart attack. Like
Hmm.
that's the guilt trip that I remember getting as a kid.
Well, I remember the years of those ice storms.
100% of the time right now, I'm telling you that we don't get regular snowstorms anymore. They
It
don't
it
exist.
doesn't exist. We haven't been able to use a snowblower. If my dad still had a plow, he wouldn't even be able to plow this stuff without breaking
It's
the plow.
cement. It
It's
is
just
it,
it's a punishment. It's
it's
a punishment.
like it is cement. It's awful, and it creates so much damage. And all it does, to me, anyways, is reinforce our decision to get the hell out of here in 4 or 5 years once Connor's done with high school. Because anytime I might have a second guess, I this sounds so morbid, and I don't want to go here, but when we first decided to move to Florida, neither one of our remaining parents were doing well.
Hmm.
So we said, in 5 years, when Connor's done with school, there's no chance they're both going to be alive.
Right. Now they're doing great.
Now they're doing great,
Yeah.
and then we're going to have a harsher conversation with them because I don't want to wait. We're going
No.
to have to spend the money and fly back every 6 weeks or
Well,
whatever
you're gonna have to
for
work
work.
anyways. So
Like we're still going to do it, but my mom is going to 100% say, "Can I come, honey?" And I'm gonna have to say no, and that's heartbreaking. But the whole idea is like, no, we have to have a life of our own and time for us at this stage because our tomorrows aren't guaranteed forever at this stage and at this age any longer either. Like,
well,
so
and we've spent pretty much our whole teenage, currently now to our adult lives, taking care of other people.
married to people we didn't want to be married to the wrong people, taking care of our parents, taking care of grandparents, taking care of siblings that don't appreciate it.
Children.
Children that don't appreciate. All we have done is make life better for everybody else in our lives. Employers, like whatever it is. And the employer part will have to continue for
Oh,
a
for
while.
sure, in order to pay for our lifestyle, but we need to be selfish a little bit at some point in our life, and that's going to be when we're looking at 50.
Yeah, I mean, the
And
goal
we're knocking on that door.
we are, and that's the goal. And I can't feel guilty about it. I'm glad my mom's doing better. I'm glad your dad is doing better.
Hmm.
Um, but the reality is, at that stage, if they're still here and they're still independent,
Hmm.
we can't let their resurgence be something that gets in our way of doing what we need to do. Because this shit that we deal with every winter is a living nightmare. Losing power for 3 days, not having the gift of shoveling snow. Like, it's not snow. So what we're getting is liquid cement, and the snowblower is like, fuck you. I
Yeah,
can't
I'm
do this.
not
I'm not
doing it.
I
Yeah,
am not
it's-
designed
Yeah.
to lift thousands of pounds of liquid cement. I'm designed to blow snow. So you
Mhm.
give me snow and I'm going to work great for you.
Yeah.
Give me this and I'm going to get clogged and stuck and it's not going to work and it's a nightmare. I
And
don't
then if we don't clear it, it becomes ice. And each of us, like last year, I fell.
I fell this year.
Yeah.
Like,
so.
it's hard and I just don't want to live so
Well, and if we're going to be
hard
picking
all
up
the
all the
time.
branches and have the high winds and everything, we might as well go to Florida where we know we're going to embrace hurricane season. We're expecting
So like a
it.
palm tree or palm leaf falls in our yard.
Oh
Oh no, I'm
boy.
gonna have to go out there and like pick up a couple palm leaves. I'm sorry, how much time have I spent in the backyard the last couple weekends, and I haven't made a dent.
Like
Like,
it's just like every time you do it, it just like it's literally like Mother Nature is just like shitting all over you all over again.
and then we live here, so in Florida, when we get there, we're gonna have to worry about like alligators and crocodiles.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they feel about vegetables. I have no idea. I know that when we stay at Richard's house,
Mm-hmm.
he named the alligator that's
Yeah.
in the backyard. But I don't know if that alligator wants to eat tomatoes or cucumbers or whatever the hell you can grow there. But I had to build a pellet fence around the
Yeah.
mini garden that we've got out there because
Mm-hmm.
I want tomatoes and I want basil and I want parsley.
But we need to keep all the animals out. I mean, what was that little the deer leg that you found? Like there was some animal in our backyard. Well, we also had a bear take out our deck
We had a
last
bear
year.
take out our deck, and I found a quarter hind of a of a deer in the side yard a few
So
months
we're
ago.
already dealing with wild animals. It's like a bear for an alligator. It's it's tit for tat.
So Wyndham, New Hampshire, yes, we do live in the wild, we do live in the woods, but yes, all the women do compete. There is a lot of plastic surgery, ton of Botox, lip
We're
injections.
25 miles from Boston. I mean, come on.
It's the perfect combination. You get it all
We are the
right here.
suburbs. Yeah.
You get everything right here in Wyndham. But I'm just at the stage now where being selfish isn't in my DNA. I don't think it's in your DNA.
Well, this is why we're giving ourselves a timeline, honey, is we know in 5 years from now, we have to work up to being selfish by then because we've really deserved it and we've been talking about it and like encouraging us. This is like our individual development plan for 5 years from now.
Okay,
is
retail
to be
management woman here.
selfish.
Okay, so, but this
It's our
is
IDP.
this is also why I think we continue to go there. We're gonna get married there next January. We're going to Sarasota at least twice over the next few months.
Mhm.
If in the next 2 or 3 years, as we're doing this and touring the neighborhoods and looking at the real estate, you had a great idea last year, and that was if the right property presents itself,
Yeah.
we just have to buy it.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something to be said for that mentally as well, because the moment we buy that property and we use it here and there, but we Airbnb it, we rent it out, it's not our primary residence,
Mhm.
but we own it, and it's
Yeah, and
going
it's
to
an
be.
investment property, so it pays for itself while we're waiting to get there.
I
Yeah.
think that there's something to be said for getting your dad and my mom used to it, because they know, oh shit, they bought it.
Mhm.
Like it's going to happen, and they're not stupid. They know the countdown is Connor in high school.
Mhm.
Like that's it. So it won't be nearly as much of a surprise when this house goes up for sale and the moving trucks are here and they can't play victim or heartbroken because they've had 3-4 years
they know.
of being ready for it.
Yep.
So I think that there's something to be said for that. Not to mention, we don't know where the real estate market is going, but if there's an opportunity to get something like you're in real estate now, so
Yeah.
you've got your New Hampshire license, Massachusetts is next, but let's say 12 months from now, you've got New Hampshire, Mass, and Florida,
Mhm.
and there's a foreclosure that's too good to be true.
Yeah.
We have to pounce on that.
Absolutely.
And that's why you getting
And
your
then I'll be able to legally lease it and do anything in case there's any weird laws or rules. Like we're good to go.
right. So, but these are all the things that we talk about
Mm-hmm.
on our cheap date nights.
Yes,
Okay?
exactly.
Or at the gym,
Yeah.
or sitting on the couch, or listening to
Sitting
live
in
music.
our backyard,
Like this,
walking the rail trail.
these are the conversations that we have. There's got to be the right mix of enjoying today, enjoying each other, and wanting to spend time together today with having a mutual goal and vision for what comes next.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Like the reality is, our clubbing days are over. Our clubbing days are now Sam's Club and BJ's.
I've been waiting for that the whole show. Waiting for that the whole show. Has nothing to do with the fact that the clubs we used to go to don't exist anymore.
Well, there's that too.
They're all
Right,
shut
yeah,
down, all
yeah.
right?
But it's like, we can't do that, but we do enjoy a really good deal at Sam's Club. And when we need to get stuff for the pool, like that is going to be a date.
it is at 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
If there comes a time where you need to buy a new TV, that's a date. We go there. Like there's certain larger purchases that we buy there.
Yeah, and so like we go, we make an afternoon of it. We grab lunch, we play Keno, we go to Sam's Club.
Well, when you a couple of years ago wanted to educate me on Sam's Club and their jewelry,
Mm-hmm.
and you wanted to show me without asking me for them the diamond earrings that you wanted,
Yeah.
and then explain to me why they
We
had to
buy
come
them
from Sam's.
there and why they're that price.
So you wound
And
up getting what you wanted, but we made a whole day of your
hmm
educating me. I just thought I was going to Sam's Club with you,
we also saved several $100s.
but I had no idea I was going to Sam's Club with you
Mm-hmm.
to get a sales pitch and an education, so
Mm-hmm.
you would get the gift that you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But you got the gift that you wanted.
You also got cologne at half price.
I did. Sam's Club is great. It's great. It's just a pain in the ass to get to.
Well, I have sites there, so
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't have
I
sites
know.
there.
But
Okay.
I go there once a week for the cheap gas.
All right. So have we covered everything when it comes to cheap dates? Have we done it all? Because tip-off's going to happen in a few minutes here, or it's happening now.
Oh, it's happening now.
It's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, I told you at the start, I don't want this show to go longer than 40 to 50 minutes because I truly believe, and for those of you that are listening, like, let us know. Find us on Twitter at Chat with Cat and Pat. Tell me, because everything that I've read says that you shouldn't do a podcast that goes more than 50 minutes, and the sweet spot is 30 to 40 minutes. Like, that's what people have the attention span for. I'm used to doing 4 or 5 hours of radio by myself and filling that sort of airtime. So if you want more, I can do this all night long.
You know what, honey? I'm sorry. Us doing a podcast, this is a free date.
It is a free date. It's something we do together. And
Yeah.
it's also something that, people have asked quite a bit, especially people that know us, why I'm not doing radio anymore. And if I want to get back into it, and do I miss it?
Mhm.
And yada, yada, yada. The reality is I could get back into radio tomorrow. I could, whether it's going back to EI, I don't know. I had conversations with 98.5.
Well, there's
But
like a
th-
couple
but
people
there's
that have reached out for your
right,
resume, but you have to be on air from like 8 to 1 a.m.
right, and then there's Sports Map, there's ESPN, there's like you've seen, like, there's opportunities there. So if I was,
You just don't have the time to be a partner and a dad and also be great at your job if you do all that.
it's too much, but I miss it. I've had a microphone in front of my face almost daily since I was 18.
Well, now we have a microphone in our living room
Well, that's what it is. We set up our little studio here.
or our
and-
den.
Yeah, it's our den, but we set up our little studio here, and this allows me to scratch that itch, but it also allows us to do it together.
Mhm.
And instead of me getting in the car, so if my shift was, it used to be 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. or 6 p.m. to midnight, depending on the day of the week. That means I got to get in my car for a 6 o'clock shift, no later than 5. And I'm not going to get home till 1. So I'm not having dinner with you. I'm not helping with bedtime with the kids. And then I'm getting home and you're sound asleep. So instead of doing that, I get to do this, and you
Mhm.
get to be a part of it, and we get to build it together. And whether this thing turns into a giant show and we make money off of it, or it is just a once a week time that we know we're spending an hour together, that's all that matters.
Right.
Because for me personally, radio was never about the money. You know that.
It was just about the fun. You had to like do something that was you were passionate about, and just it's a hobby.
It's a hobby. It's something that I enjoy doing. I
Mhm.
think I don't suck at it, and it makes me feel good about me. Like, it's always been that for me. And we don't talk a lot of sports here, but as the NBA playoffs are on the horizon, I might not be able to help myself. There'll be some bonus Celtics coverage,
Hey, I
especially
did my soapbox on Peyton Pritchard.
if they make the finals. Like, there's gonna be some
There's gonna
Celtics
be
talk here.
excitement. I'm sorry.
There is, but until then, we're gonna continue because the next few weeks here on Let's Chat with Cat and Pat are gonna get very interesting.
Mhm.
We've got our first vacation with just Connor coming up.
Just one child.
Just one child. It's been interesting the last couple of vacations taking both kids. The eldest daughter is now old enough to make her own decisions. She's old enough to drive. She's old enough to keep a full-time job, and she's got her boyfriend. Put it this way, I had to sign paperwork to get her passport renewed so she could go spend time in Mexico this summer with his family. So that's where her vacation is going to
Mhm.
be. but she opted not to come. Your son is in college, opted not to come.
Finals, yeah.
So it's just us and Connor.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to go really, really well. I
Mm-hmm.
do. But one way or the other, we're going to talk about it on the show. If it
Yeah.
goes poorly, we'll talk about that. If it goes well, we will celebrate that. But the next few weeks, I feel like are going to have a steady direction
Mm-hmm.
because we will not chat here again after having a weekend to ourselves for 1 month.
For a whole month.
For a whole month.
Yeah.
It'll be another 4 episodes of this show
Mm-hmm.
before we have had 48 hours without a kid and we're recording.
Or a work trip.
Think about that for a minute.
I
That's a
know,
lot.
that's a lot.
That is a lot. That'll do it for week number 11 with Let's Chat with Kat and Pat. Her name is Katrina Pateri. My name is Patrick Gilroy. If you like what you hear, make sure that you rate, subscribe, and review. You can find us on Spotify, find us on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. And eventually, I promise you, we'll be on YouTube. There'll be cameras in here. And she is worth the wait. Until then, we'll talk to you guys next week. That's her pulling her chair away. She can't wait to be gone.
The game is on.
The game is on, but the chair was loud.
Well, the game is on. I'm excited.
All right, go turn it on.
All right.
Go start dinner. All right, that'll do it for week number
I
11
already have dinner prep.
with Let's Chat with Kat and Pat. Until next week, bye-bye.